It's great to be here today, and thank you to the organisers for the invitation to attend. Okay, so firstly, and so importantly, we are meeting on the traditional country of the Garnu people of the Adelaide Plains, and I would like to pay my respects to elders, past and present. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands that Oz Minerals operates on. I recognise and respect their cultural heritage, their beliefs and relationship with the land. So today I'm going to spend some time presenting on our assets, our exploration approach at Oz Minerals, as well as talk a bit more about Oz Minerals at large and more broadly about Oz. Okay, I've got to move on. Okay, so I've got a disclaimer slide and also our compliance statements. So first and foremost at Oz Minerals, we strive to be modern. We've recently changed our focus from copper to modern minerals. We're guided by our purpose, which is to go beyond what's possible to make lives better. Value creation for all our stakeholders is at the heart of our strategy. And you can see in the diagram above that this is our ecosystem, the Oz Way, and it's all summarised in this slide. So it's actually really very simple, the way it's structured, but it's very important. So all of us at Oz understand this system of working, and we all think it's great, basically. So I'll take you through it, and just so you also understand it. So we start with our context, and that is having a look at the macro environment, our stakeholder expectations, laws and regulations. Then we go on to our choices, strategy, risk appetite, value creation policies. Then on to our enablers, that is our organisational model, how we work together, our behaviours, how we work with one another, our process standards, our performance standards. And then we move into the devolved model. So in the devolved model, we're broken up by assets and functions, but within those areas, we define our own work, our plans, our risks, and look at our capability and improvements on our capability where we need to achieve that. And finally, our performance, learning, reporting, and stakeholder engagement. So in terms of stakeholders, I think one of the most important aspects of this way we work together, the Oz Way, is that we all believe at Oz that only when we create value for all our stakeholders will we be successful. And this is embedded across our organisation and in the way we work. So Oz Minerals looks at the world of value creation through 6 stakeholder lenses. And those are our workforce, communities, government, shareholders, our customers, and our suppliers. And every group is just as important as the other. So when we make decisions, it's based on the value we can create for all 6 stakeholder groups. We're also passionate about creating an inclusive culture. So just to tell you a little bit more about these stakeholder groups, so when we assess a project, we look at that project in terms of the value add for each of the 6 stakeholders and the value we identify for each of those groups, and then the project will be assessed on that basis. So it's a very good way of making sure all of our projects, whether small or large, all of our activities will add value in some form to each of those 6 stakeholders. And as I said, they are equally weighted. So also around our culture, we have a very inclusive culture where people can challenge one another. You know, we're very open to challenge. Where people can innovate, so it's a free ability to innovate, and we can learn and therefore grow together. We also seek to ethically and responsibly explore, mine and sell modern minerals. In doing so, we're contributing to a low-carbon future and economic well-being, which in turn helps us to achieve our purpose and contributes to a better future. Okay, so this is, gives you a summary of the global activities that we have. We are a global modern mining company. In Australia, we have our operating assets at Carrapateena, which has a 23-year mine life at 210 million tonnes of reserve, and Prominent Hill at 14 years at 62 million tonnes of reserve. Both are located in South Australia. We also have the West Musgrave project in WA, which has recently reached FID. As well as this, we have an option to acquire the Kalkaroo deposit, which is currently planned to have a 15-year life. This is located in South Australia. In Brazil, we are active in the Carajás East and West provinces, and we are producing from the Pedra Branca mine, and have the Centro Gold project in the Gurupi province, and we have significant exploration activity with multiple projects which have been active this year across Australia, Peru, Brazil, and Sweden. So, as reported in the Q3 report, we saw continued improvements in our operating performance, just to talk a little bit about our operations. At all three of our operating assets, we've seen these improvements. At Prominent Hill, improved performance resulted in September being the highest underground ore movement on record for Prom. Carajás East produced record metal for the month of September, and there has been a month-on-month production performance improvement also at Carrapateena. In terms of our projects, construction at West Musgrave is commencing. Our work on the Kalkaroo project commenced late in Q3 after the Havilah shareholders approved our option to acquire that project. And we also continue to progress the Brownfields expansion project at Prom, Carra, and the Carajás. For growth, our mines and our growth opportunities are located in safe and stable jurisdictions, in quality locations, and which are, as some of us would know, becoming increasingly scarce. Our organic portfolio of quality, long-life, low-cost copper and nickel mines and growth assets support our realisable growth trajectory. All of this is being enabled by the innovative culture I've already described. This is being enabled fully by that, and we take great pride in the work that we do. Okay, so the next slide shows the projects that make up our existing growth pipeline, with our projects constantly advancing and moving through the pipeline. One of the areas of focus for me in this presentation today is to talk a little bit more about our exploration projects. And you can see our exploration projects shown here in grey. We have exploration in various provinces. So starting at the top with Carrapateena, we have the Stewart Shelf exploration activity with Camson and the Saddle, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that exploration activity in a few slides' time. We have West Musgrave at Yapsu, One Tree Hill, and also more regional opportunities. Prominent Hill, where we are focused in the Mount Woods region, and in Brazil we have many active projects across Carajás East and West and Gurupi. In other regions we have the Pariso project in Peru, 5 active projects in Sweden, and additional activity in Australia. And many of our partners on those projects are here today, and I would like to recognise them. We have Red Metal, Limited Resolution, White Tiger, and also Demetallica, and partnerships with those organisations. But I also want to say that how important for Oz partnering is for us, and particularly in exploration. We have many existing partnering relationships through research projects. We've got a number of research projects ongoing, community groups, our suppliers, our contractors, and of course, as I've said, our joint venture relationships. We absolutely put our relationships first and continue to leverage and enhance our reputation as, we hope, a partner of choice. So now on to exploration a bit more specifically. So in exploration, we have 5 distinct tactical pillars. Okay, so we start at the top there with a focus on high-value copper and now nickel projects in key provinces, which will add value to our existing infrastructure. So that is one of our 5 tactics. We're also very focused on sustaining a high-quality pipeline in key provinces, and we have a series of key provinces. We look at the use of innovation and technology, which will increase the probability of a discovery. We're leveraging and enhancing our reputation as a partner of choice and collaborating. And finally, the application of good planning. So we use an integrated planning process, and we believe that leads to efficiencies, our ability to execute faster and more projects. Our exploration product is really at the heart of all of this. And the product, so we define our product as you do using agile methodologies. And our product is really striving to enhance and continuously improve that pipeline of opportunities. So our product is our database of opportunities. So also we use a cycle of design, do, learn in this agile approach that we apply to exploration. Our starting point for that design, do, learn, the design component, is conceptualizing and defining our geological model. So we've seen throughout the conference many examples of amazing conceptual models, but we know that we're constantly adjusting those models. And that is the design, do, learn process. So we have a starting point, and the scale of that can vary. You can have a target scale conceptual model, you can have a provincial scale conceptual model. So the scale does flex, but that's our starting point. So it's our hypothesis. In other words, why do we think mineralization is present, the right regional geology? We have the host mineral system and all the characteristics that drive prospectivity. And then an opportunity, a project, a target is created. And then we undertake a program of work to test that model, evaluate that model, and refine the conceptual geological assessment or the conceptual hypothesis. And in that way, we continuously advance our understanding. We're learning in every cycle and improving the probability and the ranking of our database. And in all of our jurisdictions, that's what we're doing. So I suppose key points, if we're data-driven, we're constantly learning and improving through this adjustment and the agile process. Okay, so over the last few years, innovation in exploration at Oz has been advancing. And we've got an amazing team here that work for Oz in exploration. We've got almost 50 total in the team across Australia and internationally. And we have one team, a data and innovation team, that many of the members of that team are here today. So, if you have any detailed questions, you can catch up with them later. So, but certainly in that team over many, many years, our innovation work has been advancing. So we've developed a whole host of tools and new processes and code that we can use for exploration. But also, On this diagram, you can see some of the other things that we're doing and with areas of focus. So acceleration of our targets to identify and accelerate the project execution from time to identify to drill testing, also being very efficient and being thrifty, obviously, in the way we test our targets. So we're also leading, we hope, through this culture of innovation, taking us to new search spaces and being responsive to peer success and making sure that we capture those learnings in our design, do, learn process. We fingerprint systems and we continuously innovate, as I've said. Okay, so coming back to the data and innovation component of our work. So we've developed a series of AI ML tools, and these products exist internally. They allow, we can describe it as the robot's tools, the set of tools that the robot can provide to us. And we're really looking at ways to integrate the robot into our day-to-day work, into this set of tools. So as I said, we have a number of tools, and I'll start at the top of the diagram that you can see in front of you. So we've developed national and international target generation maps for all commodities, so which allow us to identify new belts, new mineral belts, and you can see a couple of examples of those maps at the top of the diagram. In addition to that, we now have systematic identification of IOCGs using big data inversion. We can invert very large state-scale data sets. So in this case, you can see an example of a gravity data set. And so that's a very significant advancement. Internally, we call that the block golem. And with that data set, we can invert, as I said, state-scale data sets, and then we can apply financial models as well within that code to evaluate the most significant of those targets. We have tenement-scale superficial mineral abundance maps. We also have near-miss tools, AI-generated near-miss tools, which can compare and rank drill results via machine learning and fingerprinting of our known deposits and looking for alteration minerals, obviously. And that means that when we do drill, we can be fairly confident we haven't missed anything nearby. As well as that, we have tenement-scale superficial geology maps, and optionally, these can also be run through sedimentary cover. So we've compared the robot-generated geology maps with traditionally produced geology maps, and the maps are very close. So there's still some tuning to be done, but significant advancements have been made in that space. Also, we have geochemical assay and near-miss vectoring from spectral imaging. So a number of tools are really ready and available to be applied. So one of the interesting things in all of this is how do we now start to integrate all of these extra tools that we have in the day-to-day way we assess projects? And you can sometimes this information that we receive from the robot can be quite black box. So, the robot may identify some targets, but we're not really sure why the robot, because of the way the robot is trained on other deposits, we're not really sure why the robot is picking that particular location. So it's really important that the robot can be able to explain why that location has been selected, and the geologists agree that it's a worthwhile target. So, it's really important that the geologists, the traditional mode, the conventional way of selecting targets can tie together and work together with the robot. So one of the things that's happened in the last few months is that the team, the data and innovation team, have looked at developing additional code, which we call explainability. So now the robot needs to explain to the geologists why the target has been selected, reveal the weightings that it's applied to the layers that it's used to identify the target, and be able to communicate back to the geologists. So that's one of the advancements that has been made in recent times, and this is very important because the traditional geologist, they need to be able to challenge. The robot also needs to learn. So the traditional geologist will challenge, the robot can adjust the weighting of the models on the basis of how they're being challenged, and then make improvements. And that way, once again, design, do, learn, we're working through that cycle of continuous improvement to refine our capability in identifying very, very high chance of success projects. So another way of looking at this, we've got our traditional Australian terrain style of studies, which you can see here with ranking of terrains based on traditional province criteria are used. And then we have the data and innovation tools that I have described. And then we're also looking at emerging projects, so emerging intersections, emerging learnings around the geology. Okay, so moving on to the Gawler Craton now, as we're in South Australia. So there, I can give you a bit of an example of the application of those AI/ML tools in this region and talk a little bit more about the region. So there's still a lot we don't know about the Gawler Craton. And I'm sure all of you here do believe there are more large IOCGs to find. So, you know, if we go back to the hypotheses that we have, it's important that we understand the gaps in our knowledge base. So, for example, you know, depth to basement, we still need more information about the depth to basement, and we've been working with some providers here in South Australia to help us with that, using passive seismic. I know there are other methods for working up depth to basement, but that's one thing we've been focused on in the last few years. And also, as you would know, for the Gawler IOCGs, there are still quite a few things that we don't fully understand, the relationships with carbonate and evaporite-bearing basins, and also the origin of the brecciation. You know, still some lack of understanding in whether that brecciation is caused by dissolution, cataclasis, or even fluid overpressure. So we're looking at understanding where the gaps are and then trying to develop technology that will fill those gaps. In particular, for the targeting in this region, we have really two overarching approaches. So conventional and unconventional exploration to increase the value proposition close to our Carrot and Prom mines, and also leveraging pre-competitive data as well. So in the diagram here, you can see, and a lot of that pre-competitive data also comes with the partnering relationships that we have. But you can see here in the couple of maps an example. So we have our known exploration spaces, and then with an underlying AI/ML map, which shows us creating new exploration search spaces. So this underlying map is an AI/ML statewide copper prospectivity map. Okay, I think I need to speed up a little bit. Okay, so for South Australia, these are our projects in South Australia. We have Peak and Denison with our partners joint venturing with Demetallica. We have Mount Woods, where we have now completed a large-scale airborne EM survey. We also have a ground EM survey now completed, and we are drilling our targets. We have a number of targets which we'll be drilling in early in the new year. On the Stuart Shelf, we have extensive ground gravity and passive seismic surveys, and drilling has commenced, so we're drilling some of those targets as we speak. Also, we have the Kernamona Strategic Alliance with Havilah, and we've identified a number of drilling targets there, and again, that drilling has commenced, so we've already completed a couple of holes there. And then Pandara as well with White Tiger, who we are using some of our drillanthropy initiatives for IOC targeting, and those projects will, that project will kick off next year. So this is our Stuart Shelf project. We're currently actively exploring in the Stuart Shelf. As I said, we've completed the infill gravity. We've completed passive seismic with IMS and Fleet, and geophysical domaining is now complete. Our drilling is underway. We've used AI/ML, and as the data comes in, our near-miss robot will be put to work as well. We're currently active exploring in the Mount Woods region here in SA, and RC drilling will be underway in the new year. So as I said, once again, we've completed the AEM and the ground EM. So my last slide relates to Kalkaroo. So we're very excited by this project. We believe there's a great deal of opportunity here. We will be applying innovative technologies, and we've actually begun some of that work. Kalkaroo is at the pre-feasibility study stage and is potentially one of Australia's largest undeveloped open pit copper gold deposits. We have a mineral resource estimate of 245 million tonnes at 0.45 and 0.41, and it has the potential for a scalable, low-cost, long-life project in South Australia with a lot of province potential. Our study will be focused on and the project study will be focused on exploring for new resources, optimizing the project as it stands at the moment, and looking at scale and value. And we will include a lot of innovative testing in this project across the full value chain. And exploration we have an 18-month option on the project, and as I said, we've already begun some of that work. So I think that's all I've got for today. So thank you all very much for listening to me, and thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity to present. Okay, thank you.